The Music Retail Show.
All right, we're back for another episode. Man, this is going to be a good one because we have not only a special guest who's close and dear to our heart, but he's been a part of the.
Close.
He's close. He's right here, but he's been a part of the show since the very beginning. This is Ian Harold.
Hey, Ian, welcome.
Thank you.
Ian Harold.
Good to be here.
Yeah, man, good to the show. I mean, I realize you're always here.
Yeah.
You know, you're just usually sitting over there. But
Yeah.
this is pretty cool because we're going to talk about something that you kind of handle for MIRC. We're going to talk about social media and everything. But maybe it would be good to, I felt like we kind of have this theme going where I always ask Richard how the cabin was or how it's hunting season. So maybe Richard needs to give us a quick update on how his hunting season's going. So, because last hunting season was not exactly the best one, purely because the life was happening. But so this one could be a better year. Have you shot something yet?
Not yet. I actually am thinking very seriously about leaving work a little bit early Friday and going out Friday night.
You should.
So the weekend's youth season, so
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday I can't hunt, but I'm going to work out at my place and do some other things. But I thought, well, I'm going to get serious and kill a deer. And usually what my gauge is cooking and getting to the bottom of my freezer.
Yeah.
And the lower I get, the more I actually really get serious.
Oh, yeah. And I love it when you go hunting because you usually bring deer jerky to work.
I actually need to bring deer jerky because last weekend I made 4 pounds of deer jerky.
You did?
I made 4 pounds, yes.
Oh, how much of that do you have left?
I have half of it left. My neighbor had a birthday.
Well, they have 16 kids.
They have 8 kids.
Okay.
They listen to this, so be kind.
Okay. Oh, wait. I meant it's like 16
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
but it's just 8 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris and Allie is their name.
Yeah, nice
And
people.
They're great people.
Yeah.
They honestly have great kids. They're great family values. It was Chris's birthday, so I have a big dehydrator, and
Yeah.
I dehydrated, like I said, 4 pounds, and about 2 of it I took out, which was it was a stack because
Yeah.
it was jerky, and it was warm, and I took it over to them, and yeah.
Okay.
And a couple days later, they call me Mr. Bennett. And I look around and see if somebody else is
Mr. Bennett,
standing there.
Mr. Bennett.
And they said, "Boy, that jerky was good." And they're still talking about it. So
It is good.
It is.
I've had it several times. It's
Yes.
very good. I like it.
I may bring some tomorrow. I need to bring some tomorrow because the problem is I can't eat it all, and I don't want it to go bad.
Yeah.
And so now I can bring it to work, and this is a good thing about here is these guys will eat.
No, they'll eat, yeah.
They'll eat anything at any given time. They'll eat donuts a week later. I mean, so we have no problems getting rid of food.
Yeah,
So
actually, that's true. They will eat donuts. I
Do you
think
do that?
There might
Or-
no.
or you got
I don't
3
know.
days?
No,
What's
I've
your limit?
I don't know. I'll put it in the microwave after 2 days, and warm it back up. You have this feeling like it's killing something in the
Yeah.
microwave, even though it's not. But
It might be.
I don't know. But anyways, well, good. I hope you get something this weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously.
If not, I'm gonna enjoy myself.
Yeah, enjoy yourself, and
Yes.
there's always the rest of the season. So
Of course.
But anyway, all right. So let's jump into this. You kind of want
Yes.
to set the stage for this.
Well, this has been rolling around in my head for the last couple weeks, it on a personal level and also a work level, and we're going to talk about both of it. I think it's important for us to set the stage all across the board, again, in our personal life and also from work. And what I want to do is a frustration of mine has been watching and looking at the way we as a society present social media and how content gets out. We have a culture of people that unplug the cable and don't watch it anymore because there's too much of either news or too much whatever their reason is. And then so you have people that cut the cable and then they're looking for alternative resources to get content, but everybody's always looking for content. And with me, I think I get a little anal about it because I try to process how can we deliver good content in a way that is received by many, because we do a lot, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we this month, I was just thinking about it, we're doing 4 salesman videos, and then I'm doing a video that we're attaching to those every single week. Is that accurate? Are we doing 4 or 3?
3.
Okay, so we're doing 3, and then I'm doing a video and attaching it to everyone. So that's every week. And then so that's a lot of content. And it's a crazy gauge, because I say let's not invade their inbox, meaning I don't want to flood customers' inbox with our content. But then we have, whenever we check, we have more people that want more than actually say you give me too much, which is kind of scary to me. So with that, I'm always trying to be very cautious on us delivering content in the right amount of time and the right way, so people don't tune us out.
Yeah.
So that's rolling around in my head. I'm watching things. I'm looking at things. I'm looking at all this, and I'm like, man, it's a great time for us to talk about not only our process, but maybe there's things that we can help people with, because we've been doing this for, Ian, you can chime in, 6-7 years. How long have we been doing this?
I was trying to think this morning. I think it was 2010.
Oh my goodness, that long?
Maybe early 11. But
okay.
I remember the videos when I came back into the middle of 11. It was a fairly new process.
Okay, so 11.
So
I do know we just crossed the,
because I was doing them by myself.
Yeah, in this room actually
for a period. Yes, in this room.
It looked different, and we actually just crossed a little over 5,000 uploads.
Oh my goodness!
A while back. So.
You're kidding me.
I did not know that.
I thought 3. I was thinking 3,000 videos we've done.
No, that was a while. That was a couple years ago now.
Oh my goodness! That's a lot of
We've
content.
broken
Videos,
YouTube.
Yeah.
Too many uploads.
A lot of people don't realize that, because most of them are unlisted. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you only see maybe 40.
Yeah.
But
So kind of and we'll talk about this more, and I want you to chime in. I feel like we have a fair amount, we're not experts, we have a fair amount of experience in ground up or grassroots technology. And what I mean by that, I didn't go to school for it. I don't know if any of you guys went to school and that was part of what your learning curve was, but we started with literally my camcorder, my laptop, and in this room, like you said, the room was a little bit different, and we did not know what we were doing, but we were willing to do something.
Yeah. And
then we evolved from that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's exactly how we started. And you asked, and I kind of sort of volunteered too, because
sort of.
I mean, who else was going to do it?
Yeah.
And I'm usually, pretty on board with trying new things. So, yeah, we turned it on, and it's pretty funny what they like when I look back at even just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I go, man, we've come a long way.
We've come a long ways. Yeah.
And there's a point in a threshold that things kind of start looking just decent and good, and but the first couple years, it was a different time too. Technology,
sure, big time,
But lighting and everything was just really bad.
Well, there's a point in time we just set up the iPad video, or iPad, and set it up there, because iPads were fairly accessible, and we got a few of them here, and we set them up, and
we still on occasion
try
not to, but we still do.
But that's always what it was, because that was accessible before you really started pulling out better cameras and editing and doing all of that.
So. And MIRC is the one that got the cameras, but we started with Richards, which for the time was actually a really great camera.
Yeah.
And then Monty, the owner, got us a camcorder that was like a Best Buy special, but it had SD cards, which yours was still tape. It was a high quality tape. I think they called it High 8 or something. I can't really remember, but the one that we used, that little camera that Monty got us for like 3 years or something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a long time. There's a lot of videos shot on that thing. I mean, it was like that big.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I remember that one. Anyway, so obviously people might want to hear the process that we go through
Right.
as we're doing this. But did you hit the second point you were talking about? You had 2 points that you wanted to kind of set the stage for. I don't remember if you said the second one or not. Maybe I missed it there.
You probably distracted
I
me.
probably
Yeah.
distracted you. Anyways, well, what we can do is we can obviously jump into the process. So, and I think through that, people will start to get a feel, and we can kind of talk about some of the positives of social media and some of the pitfalls that maybe people need to avoid as we go through. So maybe that's a good place to start, is for you to walk through what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, so first of all, I think we should say that, there isn't like a one-size-fits-all solution. And we're definitely a little bit of an exception because we're not a retail company like most of our listeners. So we have to – social media is an interesting animal for us because we have to be careful with what we share and what we don't share. The nature of our business is, we're dealing with distressed inventory that we don't necessarily want to call a ton of attention to.
Sure.
And so what we share is just more about our employees and, our team members and just our processes for things that kind of don't have to do with the inventory necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, and we're not the manufacturer,
Right.
And so
So-
that's there's kind of that bridge, and sometimes it's difficult
Yeah.
because we're not a retailer that has a franchise per se, even though we're technically a franchise company because we get enormous amounts of guitars from the manufacturers, but we're not a manufacturer, but we kind of operate kind of like a manufacturer
Right.
as far as our structure and the way we do it. So we truly are in an awkward spot, and we have to be careful on how we deal with content, on how we advertise, how we do everything.
Yeah.
Would you guys feel that is accurate?
Yeah, and I think most people, especially our dealers, know that and understand that. That's
Correct.
why, when we say 5,000 videos and most are unlisted, it's because they go only to our dealers because
Correct.
they have confidential pricing and things that we just can't put out in the open.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
that's our predicament. For retail, there's a whole nother set of predicaments and decisions to be made. But that's kind of the side of the table we're coming from. So as we're talking about it, we need to kind of keep that in mind that, what our suggestions are and what works for us is just going to be different because we're a wholesale company.
Well, and a lot of our content we do very quick, and it doesn't have as much staying power as some of our dealers could potentially do. And so that's, in my opinion, that's why a lot of our videos, we don't overproduce them.
Yeah.
It's just because they are going to last for a day, a week.
Yeah, a couple hours.
A couple hours, and then it's off, and that's why we do so much, because we are giving out so much content. Where some of our dealers and even the manufacturers can do very good quality produced items because they do have staying power. With us, it doesn't.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that we skimp on details. We're very mindful of lighting. You brought that up a minute ago, and we're trying to be. And we'll talk about this in a second, at the very best that we possibly can be with what limitations that we have.
Yeah.
And I think a misconception from a lot of people when we talk about this is they assume that they can't do it because we have a huge budget and we have all of these things lined up that we talked about a second ago isn't accurate, because we started with my camcorder, my computer, and then we went to Best Buy, and that camera, I don't know how much it was, $300-400.
If that.
If that, you're right. And we used, we did a ton of videos on that, and then we slowly, over the course of those years, we slowly evolved. I think in the last couple years, we've actually upped our game a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the stuff that we're using is not high end.
Yeah.
I mean, $99 lights.
technology
and,
is really good nowadays.
Yes, correct.
So I mean, you did just even
And
though-
affordable.
and affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, even the commercials that people boast how they're shooting them on their phones.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, you can get away with that now. So, but the one thing, one of the questions that you had put at the beginning is how much content or how much, and I realize each of our listeners have got to kind of assess for themselves how much is too much content or too little. And we get away with a lot of content here because you said exactly, we don't have a lot of staying power. Like when we put content out, it's usually for that day, for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our customers are asking, hey, can you please give us more and more content, because it's relevant that way. So, but what would you suggest to people, that some things they need to consider as far as how much content do they need to put out, or too much, too little? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm from the mind of, kind of quality over quantity. Because if you're just throwing stuff out there that doesn't even make sense or funnel people toward a sale or whatever your goal is, acquiring leads or whatever, you might as well not even do it.
I agree with that.
So now, consistency is important, but quantity, not so much. So if you, and I think it's a very personal kind of thing. If you can do every Tuesday, you're going to do a Facebook Live video or whatever, then do it every Tuesday. Don't not do it one week, and just set the goals for yourself and whatever that looks like.
Realistic goals.
Realistic goals, yeah. I mean, don't, there are a lot of websites and blogs that say, doesn't matter, throw it out there, content. But I just don't think that that's true.
What about,
I think that's true if you're a media company or you're a, like kind of like an online magazine or whatever, kind of
well,
like
if you have a lot of time too. A lot of
Yeah.
our dealers, they don't have time. They got employees, they've got customers, they've got so much going on, and it's a fight to even do it once a week.
Well, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I agree with what you were talking about, a quantity over quality. That's something that I'm very, very mindful. I was called last night. Someone on this topic was saying, well, you're kind of like a producer. You're always, analyzing this. I think what they were going to say was you're being very anal, but they were being polite and say it analyze. But there's a lot of truth in that, because I know for us and me personally as well, all the employees here, is I want us to represent ourselves the best that we possibly can. So I would much rather do half of the content and have it twice as good.
Yeah. Right.
And especially when I see dealers or anybody. I mean, when I see stuff, I think it's more damaging to see stuff from people because they feel like they just have to do it. I think it turns you away a lot more.
Yeah.
And I see stuff, and I honestly, whether it's dealers in the guitar industry, people I know, and I say to myself when I'm watching it, man, you need to stop doing this.
Yeah.
You need to cut this out, because it isn't quality over quantity. It's just quantity.
Yeah.
And they're not being mindful of the quality. They're not reviewing it. They're not seeing what the reaction is, and they're not qualifying anything.
Yeah.
And that is a big reason why I wanted to talk about this today.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we should maybe clarify that when we say quality, we're not necessarily talking about having $10,000 worth of gear to make the technical quality good. It's a purposeful quality.
Content.
Yeah.
Yes.
To where you have a reason for why you're putting it out.
it's
I agree
relevant
with
content.
that. I agree with that, because I like some videos. They do both. They do really good quality as far as their editing and all that,
Sure.
and then sometimes they put out a sound bite of something and it's not. It's just hey, I'm going to do this real quick with my phone. It's not super high quality, but I got to get this message out to you. Sometimes I like those because their thought resonates with you. It's something that's really important. They thought about it and whatever. Now, it may be a little bit shaky with their phone. It may be a little whatever, but I can look past that because I see the other stuff they do and go, this guy's really, really good at what he does.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about is being the best at where you are, and what I mean by that is exactly what you're talking about. We do not have to, and I don't want to promote, having $10,000-$15,000 worth of gear and have someone that's gone through school and spend 10 hours a week doing. I just don't want to go down that road because I don't think it's necessary, especially in today's climate. About a lot of that. What I want to do is talk to people and make sure that when they're doing something, like even with their phone, even if it's low quality, that they are proficient with it, so they're not doing some of the stupidest things that, and I talked about this either yesterday or the day before, and one of my biggest woes is when I see someone do a Facebook Live and they're showing you the store and they're going around and the camera's facing them the whole time, and then they go, "Oh wow, I guess I better switch it." And I'm like, man, why did you not prepare for this better before you started doing that?
See, but that stuff's good for us because it's good comedy. But
it is. But
yeah, your point is for them to be relevant.
It's like your son playing baseball and he's playing shortstop, and a guy hits the ball, and the ball, it comes right at him, and he's standing there to catch it, and it doesn't. It hits him right between the legs.
Yeah.
It has that same effect to me because I'm watching it going, no, stop that. This should not be happening.
Yeah, I know.
And none of us are perfect. I mean, I could go back and, I wouldn't want to go back and look at earlier videos that I did.
Sure.
And it's got to be painful. I understand that. I try to be very, very much content driven in the way of the way I say it, the way I deliver it, make sure that I'm accurate with it, that I'm honest, that there's a level of integrity that goes with it. And then if it's not good early on, I mean, I would be like, well, let's redo this one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a live anything because I wasn't at a place to do that or comfort level. Today I would, and I don't really care because, I mean, we got 3 cameras on me, and I haven't looked at one of them. Why? Because it just doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
But, the stage and the place that you're at, you need to qualify it at that point and say, hey, maybe it's best if I do a video and watch it to see how I look. Say you want to do Facebook Live. I personally am not a fan, for the reasons that we talked about. But say that's what you want to do. Take a video and then look at it and go, I think this is turning out good.
Yeah.
I think I could do this, and then do a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
But don't just get a camera and just do a Facebook Live and not even think about what you're going to talk about, not even prepare anything, and expect it to be good.
Yeah, people think that they can just wing it and get away with it, but
there's a skill to that.
There is a skill to that, and some people can do it. And just even in the news the other day, they were just trying to get news out. When Ted Cruz was doing the Facebook Live, the camera was flipping all over, and it was flipping left and right, and then the girl running it had it face back on her own head, and it's not like the thing is, it had nothing to do with their message, but it still displays to the people watching it. They wonder about the competence of people.
Yeah.
And I'm only bringing that back to the music store owners that, whatever you're saying, hey, maybe do a dress rehearsal, run through it one time and do it, because you want to come across as people as competent. Like, hey, I'm a music store owner. I know what I'm talking about. This is a good place to come buy an instrument.
And you don't have to be an expert with any of this. And I think that's the point of what we're trying to talk about. Just be really good at the limit that you have. Know your phone, know how to operate it, know how any of the social media platforms work. And if you don't, research it.
Yeah.
Look into it. Google it. Ask questions. You probably got guys or girls that are on your staff that know it inside and out. Sit down with them, buy them a Coke, sit down and talk to them about it and go, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you know how to do it? Can you show me how to do it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want people, again, we talked about this, thinking that you have to have this high level of, we're not Hollywood.
Yeah.
I'm not saying act like we're Hollywood and have the production and the lights and the makeup and all that. But if we do something, do it the best of our ability.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Well, and there's kind of no excuse anymore because everything is a Google search away,
Yeah.
Like I remember when we started, I remember I was using the camera's automatic white balance, which is, it doesn't matter even what that is, but it makes things look either more red or more blue depending on where you have it in the color temperature of the lights. And you were like looking kind of red, because the automatic thing was not red. It wasn't reading the.
You were upset.
I had the red shirt on.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't reading the lighting right, and so I didn't even know what that was, and so I just Googled like, why does somebody look red on camera? And then you figure it out, and then you go, oh, I need to switch over to manual and do the color temperature right to make it look like what my eyes see.
Oh.
That's just a really small, quick example that everything is just a Google search away.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously one of the processes is not necessarily, you don't have to have a big budget, but one of the notes we did talk about earlier, though, is just to, obviously just to state it is I think a lot of this kind of sets the tone going forward if people set a vision for what they want to do on social media and on their content. What do you think? What should people be thinking as far as looking down the road and how to use this?
I think it's, and I mentioned this earlier, is that, if you're a guitar player or a drummer or whatever, when you were younger learning, you had a handful of people that you really liked. And then you tried to cop their licks and copy what they're doing. Yeah. Do the same with social media, Find some retail shops that you like. Doesn't even have to be other music stores. A big industry that I think does a great job on social media is women's retail.
Oh yeah,
like antique, like boutique clothing or
jewelry,
jewelry and clothing.
Yeah,
and,
I agree with you.
Etsy shops a lot like that.
They're for more online type stuff. Yeah, but I'm talking about more brick and mortar in this particular case. But one of the things that I see all the time is like my mom and sister on Facebook will check into these little women's boutique shops because they get 10% off. And it's like that's not you don't have to be a women's fashion store to do that. You can take that and apply it to your music store, to where, hey, because then it tells all of their followers that they're at your music store. Just little things like that,
Well, I think that's a good idea because I think one thing that kind of can pigeonhole us as an industry if that's all we do is look at each other.
Exactly.
I like gathering ideas from other industries because there's some that are a little more ahead of the curve than others, and a lot of times you can go, I love that idea, but I need to do it this way to apply it to my industry. Exactly. And you steal little snippets of what they do. Yep. And I actually recommend that people do that, is go to other things completely different than what you're used to. I wonder if your eyes pick things up differently, like, going and looking at women's clothes. I don't think you're a cross-dresser, right?
No.
Okay. Well,
that was a question.
Yeah. That long pause kind of scared me, I have to admit. So you can look at it, and you're not looking at clothes in that fact. You're looking at maybe the lighting. You're looking at the layout. You're looking at the production side of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, for doing product shots and stuff like that, there's no better industry than the fashion industry.
Yeah,
they do a great job.
And so, of course, when you start getting into the technical stuff, you see all of that, and the lighting and what lenses they're using on their cameras and all that kind of stuff. And fashion photography is one that's been around forever, and they're really good at it. So of course, if you want to get into photography, that's a place to look. But my point more was just find people that you like. If you're doing videos, find somebody whose presentation style you like, and do it like they do it.
I agree.
It's a sharing thing. It's not like you're plagiarizing. You're not taking their book and putting your name on it. It's an inspiration.
And that's part of social media too, is the style, the look, the feel, and somebody, and obviously the chances are that whatever you're looking for an example, they're obviously were doing the same thing and kind of, hey, that looks good. They wanted to try to kind of copy that kind of feel or look. So, I think as long as you are putting out relevant content that you think your customers are going to want to see. You can definitely borrow some ideas on how to deliver that.
Well, and like just sit down and think what works on me. Like when I see something, what makes me buy it? Or
what's your trigger?
And apply those things to you taking pictures of basically nothing, in your store or yourself at your store. We have one client, and I can't remember the name of their store, but they take pictures and post pictures of anybody that agrees to it that buys something.
Yeah.
And so the focus isn't on them; it's on their. I almost always like the picture they put up because it's little kids holding the ukulele.
It's a great idea.
It's like, oh man, that's cool, and they get a like for it, and it shows that they're supporting their community, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. Just pay attention.
Well, I think what's unique with us is we all three are involved with things outside of these four walls that has to do with what we're talking about. So we draw not just from the stuff that we do here, which is enormous. Like you said, over 5,000 videos. Man, I mean,
I didn't know that. That's impressive.
I honestly, the other day was thinking about 3,000. I mean, it blows my mind we've done that much.
Yeah.
But I could see how we've done it. But anyways, on personal levels, we have other attractions in different areas that we can draw from. And I feel like that is healthy for us, and it also helps us bring good ideas. But I think we're also looking for our own way of doing things uniquely, because we come here and we have a corporate way of doing it, but when we walk outside of these walls, we're very unique. All three of our styles are different, and we have different ways of doing it, and even some similarities. I mean, I think we all agree on a lot of it, but there are some things that we're like, nah, this works for me. And so the point of all of that is I think it's okay for all of our dealers to don't follow a formula that people tell you have to follow. Follow the formula that works best for you and your environment and your skill level. And I know for me, and we've been talking about this, I deliver content currently. I look back, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago that I was doing video myself, and I was doing it with my iPhone. And I look at it and I'm like, man, those were actually really good. Now, I recently bought a new camcorder that you know about because we've been talking about it. You've seen it. I just brought it this morning.
Looks nice.
And it's for another phase of what I want to start doing. But in the meantime, I didn't just stop because I didn't have this camera.
Yeah.
I mean, every single week, at least once a week, I'm putting out content that has to do, for me, it's outdoor stuff, property management, my cabin, and what I'm doing. So every single week, I'm delivering content. So you talked about earlier, maybe every Tuesday you do a Facebook thing or whatever. Well, I'm that guy. I don't do it every day. I do it once a week. Because that's where I'm at today. Yeah. Now, like my camera that I bought, and we talked about this, I'm not even going to really, really, really use it until the first of the year. But between now and the first of the year, I need to learn what I'm really doing.
Yeah.
And I think the same applies to our dealers. We can encourage them and say, hey, you don't have to be a pro. You don't have to do, because they're all being say you have to do a social media, because you're going to be dead if you don't. And there's all these scare tactics. But what we need to let people know is it's okay if you don't know anything. It's perfectly okay. But how can we get you to where you start, and start small?
Yeah.
You have a phone, you have a good phone. There's great editing software on it. It takes good pictures. It takes good video. Use it for the best that you can possibly use it.
Absolutely.
But like I said, with my camera, my video camera I just got, you have the skills to use it because you've used it. You've used other. I don't. So I'm not going to go, I'm going to start this weekend doing it. I'm like going, I'm going to wait till January, maybe early February before I do. But right now, I'm going to spend a lot of time learning about it.
Yeah.
So I can start capturing good content.
And to say something from earlier that I was thinking of is we're trying to encourage people to get out there, be involved in social media, do it the best you can, see your limitations and make sure you state there, start small. But also you're going to have people that, like, I have a tendency sometimes to go, oh man, there's a ton of stuff out there that looks good. Whatever I'm going to do is going to look stupid. And then you just sit there and you don't ever do anything. So we need to kind of, we need to encourage people too that, okay, listen, you might need to put a couple things out there that look silly or look stupid so you can shake the cobwebs off.
Yes.
See what you can do, can't do. Make a few mistakes, live and learn. So if you do make mistakes, it's not the end of the world. But the point is to start
Or
with that
record it
vision.
and don't release it.
Or that's exactly right.
I mean, I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, you could
Sitting
do
behind
that.
the camera. We just did that with a salesman yesterday. I met with both of them and said, hey, you guys go in a room for 30 minutes, do some video. I'm not even going to watch them.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. And I said, I'm going to ask you, how did it turn out?
I don't want to know.
Well, but that's the truth, because my expectations are they're not going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I know how hard it is, and they will get better if that's the goal, if that's the desire. And so I agree, record stuff, try things. Doesn't mean that you have to record it and put it out. You could just record it and sit on it for a minute, and if you don't like it, delete it.
Yeah.
Record something else.
Try it again.
Yes.
Try it again.
And you have to try different things to see what works for you too.
Correct.
And Gary Vaynerchuk, who's, I'm sure everybody knows who that is, has a kind of a theory or a
Nate's like, man,
Who is Gary?
he's good.
not to go against what we were saying earlier about the quality over quantity thing, but his theory is essentially the same as ours. He's saying, do as much as you can, but get good at your presentation. But what he calls it is like a jab, right hook, to where you're putting out little jabs of social media content that really aren't important or, that big of a
It's
deal.
just stuff, yeah.
Yeah, or it's a picture of a guitar you have in your store. And,
Yeah.
And then after a couple jabs, you land a right hook and ask for the sale.
Yes, yes.
Or promote a sale or do whatever. So I think that's a good strategy just overall, because you do want to put out content just to stay top of mind and for more of a marketing type thing. Because if you only do one Facebook post every week and it's all 20% off, everybody's going to ignore it.
Yeah.
You got to do some kind of cool posts that have nothing to do with anything and that are kind of funny or
kind of random too.
Kind of random, yeah. And we all know that social media has been around long enough now that people kind of intuitively know that.
And I kind of like a lot of that too.
Yeah.
To where you get a picture of like you said, a guitar. I like that. You see in the store and go, "Hey, we just got this in." You're not advertising a sale. You're not. We don't need to be like the mattress companies,
right?
Where they're like 50, 60, 70% off. We've extended the sale. That's. People don't like being sold,
right?
And so we could put pictures of cool guitars. Hey, we just got this in. That drives traffic to you just as well, because people could come in and want to see it.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, you have something?
Well, I want to talk about, now that we're talking about, hey, you need to do something, or we would like to see you do it. I want to talk about where we should do it and some of the details of that. And I think, Ian, you can probably talk to this more, because we kind of give that to you. That sounds like, things that does not interest me. So. Speak to that, and I think the way I want to lay it out is, say someone is nervously going, okay, I'm going to get involved in social media. They've done a few things and they go, okay, I don't need to delete these. These don't look bad. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah. So I think that you don't have to be everywhere, which a lot of people that are really successful on social media would say otherwise, but they're also trying to create personal brands to where, they're oftentimes trying to become kind of social media famous, if you will. So then it is important to kind of be everywhere. But when you're talking about a retail location or a business, you really don't. You just need to find what works best. So for us, it's YouTube. That's the platform that just works for us.
Which is a great platform for people to start on.
It is. A retail location, YouTube is great for creating videos to show your store to people and to create a brand image that you're a legitimate music store that has cool product and cool people. You're probably not going to generate a whole lot of sales necessarily. You might, but YouTube is not an urgent platform unless you do it through email, like what we do. If you have an email list, which you should, then you can do a YouTube video and send the link in the email. But just getting random people to look at your videos on YouTube is probably not going to generate to quote unquote sales today. But it does the long tail is it creates a brand image.
Yes.
To me, the most important one for small businesses is Facebook. It's still kind of the king and probably will be for a long time for multiple reasons. Everybody's on it.
So just to go over, the three main ones that I hear people saying I have to do is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, so talk about all of them because, maybe you can give us stats of viewership of each one and why, because you said Facebook, why Facebook?
Yeah.
And let me say that not all three of us are the biggest fan of Facebook as far as personal, but also know that it does. At some point, it doesn't matter. It's what's the best for your business, what's the best for whatever, and that's the way we view it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just real quick, Twitter's kind of a hard one for a lot of people to understand because it's hard to wrap your head around it of how it works for a business, and I think Twitter has a hard time wrapping their head around how to make it work for business. It's like what I've heard somebody at some point in time say it's kind of like the water cooler, where everybody's kind of standing around in the online community just chiming in what they did last night or their thoughts on a whatever the politician said yesterday or whatever. So it's great for famous people and for people that want to become famous because you can literally talk to famous people.
Yeah.
And Instagram is more, I thought it was funny anyway. Somebody said they're in the business of envy. Because essentially, people are putting their best pictures of all the fun stuff they do.
Their best life forward.
Yeah, and then
it's so true though. I actually agree with that.
Yeah, but it's awesome because you see some amazing,
you see some great pictures
things, and you can like Twitter, you can search hashtags to find new things that you're interested in that you would have never known about before. So it's great. Businesses should use Instagram because you can get. Just like YouTube, a lot of brand awareness and it can just make you look kind of cool, But if you're talking about just generating legitimate sales, Facebook is the obvious. I mean, hands down, the obvious.
And why
choice.
is that?
Well, because they give you, and Instagram is owned by Facebook now and has been for a while, but the tools that Facebook gives you to create ads and market to people are way more in-depth than anybody else, including Google.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So explain some of that. I mean, because if somebody's like saying, hey, I want to advertise my store on Facebook, what's the budget? How do you do it? What's the demographic? Do you have control over the demographic?
Yep.
Give us a little bit of that.
Sure. So we willingly gave Facebook pretty much everything about us over the last 15 years that they've existed. And so what they allow that most other platforms either can't or don't allow is a deep drill down into demographics. So like if you're advertising on Google, you pay for a keyword essentially. And so if you want to sell guitars, you would say like if somebody types in buy guitars in Franklin, Tennessee, and you have a store in Franklin, Tennessee, you pay to kind of be up higher in the Google search.
Gotcha.
But the beauty of Facebook is that as a marketer, you can log in and create an ad. Has to be a good ad that actually works, and it doesn't have to be just one. And then a bunch of and it's a little confusing at first, but a bunch of drop down menus come down, and you can literally pick age group, gender, income level, where they are in the country. Mm-hmm. So as an example, if you created an ad that specifically you wanted to target moms to come get their kids in music lessons, you could literally create an ad, create an image with like a happy looking kid carrying a guitar case and a
keyword happy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And say, moms, now's the time to get your kid in music lessons.
Sure,
the earlier they learn, the better, And then you go in there and you click, I want women between the ages of 30 and 45 with an income level of household income of 50,000 plus, or whatever. That's an arbitrary number, but that are in the greater Nashville area.
Yes.
And they're the only ones, you're only paying for those people to see it. So
which
is
good.
Money.
Exactly, because you're not wasting money and you're targeting an audience.
That's right. Yeah. And then you could create another ad for dads,
for fathers.
Or just older men. Like if you're a vintage dealer or a higher end dealer of some sort, or you just want to get rid of some high end gear, you can go in and target, I want men ages 40 plus with a household income of 100,000 plus that went to college, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So you just narrow that target down to go, most of the people that are buying Taylor 814s or Martins, they got a pretty decent income level.
Yeah.
So that way you're not paying for an 18-year-old kid that makes $8 an hour to see your ad up for a Taylor 814.
I also like how it actually shows you like, hey, and then you assign a dollar amount, right?
Yep.
And then that'll allow you to say, okay, if you spend this dollar amount, you're going to most likely have this many impressions, like 340,000 impressions, and it can kind of give you a sliding scale to gauge how aggressive do I want to be, or can I go back to, you don't need a big budget, you can spend a few dollars. So
yep, I believe that the lowest you can go is $5 a day. But you can only run it for a day if you want.
Yeah, $5.
Like you don't have to, obviously.
Where can you do that anywhere else and have targeted dollars?
No. Yeah, it's if you're not advertising on Facebook and you're a business, you are really making a mistake.
There it is. This episode brought to you by Facebook.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's personal feelings about Facebook kind of put them
aside.
On the shelf for a minute. You're leaving money on the table if you're not doing it.
Well, and I think I don't know what print ads in a newspaper are today, but they're usually like a Sunday one. I know we used to, when I worked retail, we would take out Sunday ads, and they were expensive.
Yeah.
And then we would run ads, I think, Wednesday to Saturday, and then occasionally do a Sunday. I think that was our rhythm. And Facebook is so much cheaper than that, and probably the viewership is far greater, or the audience that we could actually get to.
Yeah, it's so targeted. That's just the key. And because the Sunday morning paper, you don't know who's looking at it. Is it your grandma, or is it somebody that's actually going to come into your music store? So that's the beauty, and plus the analytics you get on the back end. It tells you how many people viewed it, if you had a link in the ad, if they clicked on the link, and then if you're integrated with Google Analytics, you can look at that to even dig deeper to see where they went on your site after they got there. And,
what words did they use to search that got you there?
Right.
Man, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and when I worked at Comcast selling advertising there, it was the big disconnect was always you were trying to convince people to run these campaigns on commercials on TV, but there was the one disconnect is everybody wanted to know what's my return on investment? How can I measure that I'm getting something back? And the old days with magazines and even sometimes with commercials is you had to put a coupon out there because I had to physically walk back in the store and you could go, oh, great. Here's one. Here's another one. Then you could measure the dollars with who walked in your store, where with TV, it's just so hard to do that, or maybe even radio. But now with Google Analytics and with Facebook and all of that going on, you can literally dial down to say how much am I spending, who am I reaching, and what dollars are coming back on that.
Yeah.
Because you could be running a deal, a special, signing up for lessons, and you really can make calculated decisions a lot better these days.
Yep, that's right.
So,
Good.
man,
That's good.
love it. Facebook.com.
Anything else on that topic? Because I think that's a big question that our dealers have, and just general music stores or anybody else listening is, so if I start doing this, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
So we talked about the advertising stuff. Talk about just the or the ads, but advertising your business. What are some other fun things that they can do to have a presence on Facebook and get likes or get followers on it?
Yeah, so you can do a thing on Facebook too, where you can, because if you have a business page now, I wouldn't really call it penalize you, but you're not as accessible as it used to be. It used to be you would show up in somebody's feed just like if you were a person, like
Okay.
one of their friends.
Okay.
Now that's not the case, and it's become a little more pay to play. So you can do what they call boost a post. So if you have a post and it's one of your employees doing something really funny, then you just want the community to see it because they'll get a laugh out of it,
Sure.
or it's somehow relevant to your community, and you go, man, I'll spend $20 to get this in front of people. Well, you just click this button that they have on there. I'm sure everybody's seen it, and it's just called Boost Post, and you put how much you want to do it, and you can say for the next 7 days, I want this to show up in people's news feed, but I don't want to spend more than $20, and so it'll kind of just sprinkle it out there for the next 7 days, and then you can add like a little like page button or learn more button, or that'll send them to your website or whatever. So, I mean, that's a way, it's not like you have to, just general sales copy is important. Like that's a whole nother topic, but, write things that sound good and professional and have a call to action and, that talk about a pain point and then how you can solve it and then a call to action. That's kind of the 3-step thing it's just general sales copy.
101.
Yeah. And you have to do your part.
Yeah.
It's nothing. There is no magic bullet. But these tools they definitely help. But you got to do your part. And so it's just like I said earlier. What are people that you like doing that make you click the mouse or tap on your phone to move forward, and do that?
Yeah, because there's a lot of styles
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways of doing it, and that's what makes it kind of fun and interesting.
And also, I should say, put yourself in the position of a 35-year-old mom that wants to put their kid in lessons too, because if you're a 65-year-old guy that loves Neil Young, you might advertise things a little differently than a kid that likes some metal band that you've never even heard of.
Can you use somebody besides Neil Young? I'm
like
just not a
Neil Young.
fan. I know you kind of have a soft spot for some of his stuff.
I was trying to think of who to.
Sorry, that was my
Maybe I
Neil Young
spend more
impression.
time on here talking about who I don't like than who I do like.
That's
People
fine.
go, you don't even like music because you don't like anybody. But
Yeah.
Neil Young, I don't know, man. You know what? His sideburns kind of annoy me.
I think they're kind of cool, but
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he
They work
hiding
for
his
him.
sideburns?
they wouldn't work for me, but they work for him.
Yeah, they wouldn't work for me either. But all right, well, we have moving right along. I don't know why we would want to sit around and talk about Neil Young, and that's kind of your point, right?
And sideburns.
Yeah, really. So,
and I stopped on both causes.
yeah. So obviously, people need to spend money. And what you're doing is you're coming back and saying Facebook is a great place to start. YouTube, does YouTube do? You can do paid promotions there. I know
Yeah, you
Instagram
can.
does.
You can, but if you're again, this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But
Yeah.
Unless you're just trying to create a presence or become a famous store, like Norman's Rare Guitars or
Carter Vintage,
Carter,
or Chicago Music Exchange,
which is
things
great.
like that.
By all means, if you have that in your budget to do that and that's your goal, then chase it. But the beauty about the Facebook advertising is you can target it, and it actually leads to sales. where advertising on YouTube and some of the other platforms is more of just a brand awareness type deal, to where you may have an ad come up before a pedal demo, but what is that doing for you?
Yeah.
Probably nothing, except lightening your wallet a little bit.
Yeah. Well, brand awareness is important.
It is, but you can do that organically. You don't have to necessarily pay for that as much. What at least my take on it is, if I was operating a business, if I'm going to spend money on advertising, I want something back for that, not just somebody. If I'm a store in West Virginia, what do I care if somebody in Idaho likes my YouTube channel? Really?
Well, and I think a big part of it is we hear from a lot of our dealers, and I agree with this. They have a limited amount of time, and then they have a limited amount of resources, and so I think pointing to Facebook.
Yeah.
Initially would help in both causes. Yeah. Now later on, when they have more time and they actually learn, throwing some videos up on YouTube might be just good for their customers to go see it, but it's not really going to move the needle. It's not going to someone's not going to come in and buy a strap pack because they've seen it on YouTube.
Right.
600 miles away.
Yeah.
But on Facebook, if you hone in the demographic or the area that you want people to see it, well, that could actually draw people in. Mm-hmm. And I think that initially should be your goal, because at the end of the day, we're in business.
Right.
And we need to drive business to us as much as possible. One thing that I'd like to talk about is setting goals so we can grow our media presence. So maybe let's talk about that. We know we started off and we talked about staying small and slowly growing into it. But what are some of the goals that you guys think that would be good for our dealers?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me is just to always, if you have a posture of, I'm going to start here because this is where I'm at, and in a year from now I want to be here. And I know I've said it a couple of times now, but just look around and pick a couple people on social media that you think are doing a good job and go, I want to get there by this time next year.
Yes.
And then it's really not. It can be time consuming, and it can be frustrating in the beginning when you're trying to learn cameras or something you've never thought about before, or even creating an ad and getting through the menus on Facebook. It can make you want to throw something because you're like, I don't even know what they're talking about right now. But it's really not hard. It just takes patience. Just like anything worth anything, you've got to work a little bit for it. It's not just going to happen. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is just to always take the posture of, yeah, I'm a business owner. Yeah, I've been successful, or I'm trying to be successful. I don't know a lot about this, so I need to humble myself and get to where I want to be. I had the audacity and the street smarts to become a business owner.
Yeah, which is hard.
It's like,
that's a big step.
I think I can figure out how to make a good Facebook post.
I agree.
There's a lot of educational tools out there that, tons of podcasts, like this one that people can lean on for education. That it's like you said earlier, we live in a world where you can Google it.
Yeah.
And in 2 seconds, you'll have 30 results that you can kind of choose from to try to better your education. So,
and there are so many services that help with, like, you don't have to know Photoshop anymore to put out a graphic. There are web-based services.
There are tutorials all over the place.
Well, and there's there's like Pixlr Express. There's like Canva and Pablo that are.
It sounds like he's
free.
talking about Mexican food. Not getting hungry.
Yeah.
Anyways, Pablo and whatever.
But Canva's great. That's a great resource that people need to use,
and we use it all the time.
Yeah.
That's a little secret. Like we have Photoshop here, and we use that for certain things. But when you're just trying to create some quick graphic to put up on Instagram or something, it's great. It takes 5 minutes. And it looks professional.
They got all the work done for you. You just got to kind of choose what you want to put in it. But
and that too, like, it's frustrating sometimes when you don't know where to start or whatever, and that takes time to research. But Google it; it's out there.
Yes.
Like, how do I make good graphics? And I guarantee you, in the first 5 results, there's a service, you know, we do live in a society that kind of is a subscription service us to death if we're not careful.
Yeah.
To where all of a sudden you're spending $200 a month on stuff you.
That is
But
an issue.
that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. I think one thing you mentioned earlier that I think people need to do to set goals is to be consistent in their social media. So like
Yeah.
you said, if you're going to put out a video every Tuesday, put the video out every
Yes.
Tuesday. Be
Yes.
consistent on that. Let people be able to rely on that. And do the best that you can on that. And then I think once you perfect that, then go to Tuesday and Thursday. Go to Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then, living within, if you've got a small budget or if you're extremely busy,
Because it does take time.
It does take time.
A lot of people think, oh, anybody can do social media. Either they shy away from it because they don't feel confident, or they're overly confident.
Yeah.
Where they go, bruh, it's just Facebook. Just
Yeah.
can't be that hard. But it can take an hour to craft the post that you want, because if you want to do a thoughtful post that actually moves the needle, or it can take 2 sometimes, or it can take 3 days because you have to get up and go do something else and then come back to it.
Yeah.
And then you go, I don't like that. I'm going to change it. It's not just people. I think this day and age, especially younger folks, think that make me the social media manager. I'll change your life. I'll make you so much money.
Change your life.
Like any idiot can do this, and then they get control of the wheel.
You got a lot of energy. Have you heard some of this before?
Oh my gosh.
Any idiot can do this.
Oh my goodness! You talk to anybody, anywhere that is.
Oh man, we're gonna be in here for an hour. What question did you ask so we
I
know
don't
not
even
to ask
remember.
this question again?
Any employee that's under the age of 35 thinks that they could make you a millionaire through social media if you just put
But yet
them
they
in
can't make
charge.
themselves a millionaire.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'll use your money
that's
to make
obvious,
you a millionaire.
Well, that's obviously a very gross generalization, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of truth in that, and I think a lot of business owners out there probably
Buy into it.
well,
Some
or
do.
can relate to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then they put somebody in charge of it, and it's like, ooh, we got one more like than I had 3 months ago because
Yeah.
of your amazing posts that you've been putting up.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy. It's not.
I'm going to
Man.
change your life.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
like a Jack in the Box. He just popped out,
Yeah, all these idiots. No, but what is true? Obviously, no matter what you do, whether it would be radio or TV or magazines, you're always going to get people that they think they're the experts.
Yeah.
Thankfully, with social media, you can kind of be really involved with it. So even if you're a company where you do hire somebody to help out because you don't have the time to do it, you can still be very involved and kind of oversee it and know the process and make sure things are done properly. So
Yeah, and there's services that help with that now too, to where they can load it into a thing, and then when you decide that you approve it, you can click share now, and it
Like
blasts
Buffer?
it out. Yep, Buffer. Yeah.
Buffer's a great platform as well. So for people that you want to check that out, who want to do Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at the same time, if you're at that level and you can do it properly, then those services are a huge help. So. What else? Anything else you're thinking there as far as we have down here about common mishaps. I think we've talked about a few of the mishaps.
Yeah.
I think people will understand. There's a fine line between, hey, I'm not very good at this, so I need to try to get into this and dabble with this, and getting into something and being way over your head and creating something that you just don't know what you're doing, or diving in, like you said, where the camera's facing backwards and they're supposed to be showing the store and it's showing their face, and and then I know there's going to be those kinds of things, but I guess that's the big deal is we have to encourage people to use social media, but use it within the kind of the guidelines that you're able to do.
Yeah, and it does like we were talking about taking time to craft a post. It also takes time to move the needle. You can buy the advertising, and that you usually will get some results from that are tangible pretty quick. But that's another misconception, I think, or mishap or whatever, is that a lot of times, this was more maybe 5 years ago when it was like the Wild West of social media. Everybody was telling everybody that overnight, within weeks, you'll see an uptick in your business.
It's going to go
if you-
viral.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whatever that means,
Yeah, and for business owners, it can be frustrating when you have been trying and you don't see results. But that's probably not true. You're looking at it through a lens where you want the immediate results because it's your bank account that's tied to the business. But if you are consistent,
it takes a season.
And then like we were talking yesterday, you said something that is so true where you go, man, the first thing I did for my stuff I kind of have fun with on the side was 6 years ago. If I would have been doing stuff for the past 6 years, I wonder where I'd be. Well, that's true for everybody in any business, So if you start today, it may take longer than you want or whatever, but just break it up into chunks that you can handle.
And I think that's why it's key not to dive face first.
Yeah.
To do one post a week. Then, like you brought up, then 2, and then go to 3, and then whatever. I think that's important because we have to make sure that we are consistent, which we talked about, and that we don't burn out in that philosophy. That we actually go, well, I have time to do this. Be realistic with your time, not only the level that you're at, but the time that you have. And then with that, then go, okay, well, now I can afford to put a little more time, and then a little more time, and then let it evolve organically.
If you're doing ads or money, don't.
Yeah, or money. You're right.
Facebook ads is not going to save your business.
No.
Like if you just do a cannonball and throw a ton of money in there, you could get upside down real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to be truthful, you still have to be a business that has good product, good customer service, and a store that's obviously doing good business. So it's just social media is going to be something that's going to help, supplement, advertising and more brand awareness or product awareness. So, but well, I thought this was a good episode. I think that man, if people have ideas or have questions, they can email the Music Retail Show at gmail.com. To be honest with you, Ian, you actually kind of check that. So if there is, somebody who's listening does have a question, they can maybe kind of throw that at you and maybe throw an answer back. Yeah. So, or even bring up some other concerns or questions that we didn't cover here today. So,
and also let me jump out a little bit and say that, we have a lot of people that come here, and if you're ever here and you want to know more or see or actually even get behind the camera to see how it feels, just ask us. Schedule that and we'll help you out with it.
Yeah.
Because we want to be as much of a help to all of our dealers as we possibly can, because I can honestly say it's not easy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest misconceptions. People go, oh, it's just a camera. It's just me doing a video. I could do that. But it's amazing. And I said this yesterday, when that light comes on, it changes your demeanor.
Yeah.
You freeze. Your mouth gets dry. Yeah. These are all comments that I was told as I'm giggling like a little girl, because I said going into it, this is not easy. Oh, I can do this. This won't be a problem. A little bit of a learning curve, but it won't be a problem. Okay, well, I'm all right. And then later on, I just sit there and I wanted to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
But that's not important.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It is complicated.
Takes practice.
It takes practice. It takes learning. It's continued education, and we have to evolve. We have to go, where do I want to be, like we talked, in a year from now? Like I said yesterday, what if I would have did more content in the last 6 years than I did, or kept up with the way I was doing it? Where would I be?
Yeah.
It would bum me out, so I don't want to sit and think about it. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to work on it right now, so in 6 years I don't turn around and go, wow, I blew 12 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to evolve at the rate that I can do it, whatever my talent and my skill set is, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we keep a track of a lot of social media out there in the music industry, and there's a lot of good people doing some really great content that's helping represent the music industry in a very positive light. And so there's no reason why anybody listening to this can't be a part of that. You can't be. Don't be intimidated by the giants. Just realize that the giants do what the giants do, but you can still get in there, create relevant content for your store and your brand, and be good at it. So so don't let that deter you. So, anyways. Well,
and I think winding down, I think we need people to tell us that they're doing it so we can become a fan of what they're about.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
I really, really want us to help add to what they're doing through tricks and stuff that on the back end of stuff, whatever we can do to help those dealers. So if you start and you do it and you feel comfortable, get with us. Let us work with you. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a
we
great
done?
episode. I think it's a great episode, and I think
Ian,
we're
we
done.
appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
man.
having me.
Yeah, we'll have you on again.
Yeah, well, maybe.